Here's a question for you. What happens when the founders of two leading British watch brands grab a drink together? The answer? A hangover and a collaborative watch. At least that's the story behind the new Studio Underd0g and Fears Gimlet. First off, which elements of both brands have been used across the watch? From the offset, the Gimlet's case shape is very straightforwardly from the Brunswick. The 39mm cushion-shaped case was the breakthrough 1930s flavoured slice of elegance that made Fears the brand they are today. It's very much their signature, and while other collaborations took a more nuanced approach, the Alliance watch with Christopher Ward and the Fears Garrick partnership stand out, Studio Underd0g rarely does subtle. The case isn't all though, as the Gimlet also uses Fears typography and scrutinized pipette handset. That brings us to the Studio Underd0g element, as you can quite clearly see the shadow of that handset on the dial. The dual-layered dial, with solid lume underneath a sheet of sapphire, numerals and hands floating above, is taken directly from the O2 series field. Honestly, I've seen so many collaborations leaning on the brand's famous Big Eye chronograph that the field is a breath of fresh air, dual screws and all. It's a really cool halfway house between both designs, and one of the most equal collaborations in recent years. So what about that dial colour? Well, as I mentioned previously, this particular watch came about after a night of drinking between Studio Underd0g's founder Rich Bench and Nicholas Bowman Scargill of Fears. The latter can very much hold his drink, and introduced Rich to the almighty Gimlet cocktail. For those who've not had the pleasure, it's basically a hefty glass of gin cut with lime. Rich did not come out of the encounter well, but when the pair were deciding on a dial colour for their nascent collaboration, there was now only one answer: the pale yellow-green to white of a Gimlet. Some of us don't like the smell of a drink that killed us. Rich apparently wants to wear it, the masochist. That's all the aesthetics, but what is underneath? Well, the aim was to keep things accessible, so rather than the usual movement in the Brunswick, the manual wind ETA 7001, it's instead equipped with the O2 series field Sellita SW210-1 manual wind number. That means a 4Hz frequency, 42-hour power reserve, and the ability for anyone with a watch opener to give it a service. It also means that, despite appearances, the Gimlet will set you back a lot less than the standard Brunswick. That all brings us to the big question. What's the price? Simple, a nice round £1,000. That's 200 more than the standard pink lemonade, and over 1,500 off a standard Brunswick. For a watch this cool, this beautifully British from conception to execution, that's as worryingly appealing as a Gimlet after 5 o'clock, the only downside is availability. Only 200 Gimlets will be made, and will only be available at British Watchmakers Day on the 8th of March. 100 in the morning, 100 in the afternoon. So you might want to get in line nice and early. We will be.